The floor to Maria Arena for SND.
Oui, voilà.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I will not go on too long about the exclusion criteria for carbendazim because we were very clear on it in this objection, and this is related to the directive of 98, the applicable directive. So I would like to say that although it might be true that the DVC did say that the available data did not allow us to draw conclusions on this substance, it is important for us to note that the fact that it is impossible to make conclusions doesn't equate to a conclusion that this is not an endocrine disruptor. This uncertainty that we can add to all of the many reports that suggest that this might be a dangerous substance is something that we need to use. And I want to insist on the assessment criteria that should have led to a ban of carbendazim for certain uses, and say, first of all, for uses in products 7 and 10, the opinion that we have is that this is an unacceptable risk. When it comes to Article 5, this should have led the Commission not to authorize the substance. So I would like to understand why the Commission did not follow the conclusions of the assessment report on these points, and why is there a lack of coherency when it comes to types 9 products, which have the exact same risk, but for which the opinion was followed and carbendazim was not used. So there is also a lack of sufficient reasoning to justify the use of these products when it comes to the environmental risk. In order to mitigate risks, we can see that there is no adequate measure for external use of this product. So can the Commission say what are the conditions that they want member states to apply if they authorize the use of products containing this substance? They say that they will specify the conditions in December, but I think that we should know in advance what these conditions are so that we can propose additional measures. Otherwise, the Parliament would not have its full power to weigh in and the power of checks and balances. The toxic properties of carbendazim are already well known. Thank you for your attention.
Merci. So I will give the floor to the other co-rapporteurs, starting with Anna Hazekamp.
Well, thank you, Pascal. Yes, a little while ago, we have received and debated the chemical strategy for sustainability. And this important part of the Green Deal sets out the steps we need to take to achieve a toxic-free environment and to ensure that chemicals are produced and used in a way that maximizes their contribution to society while avoiding to harm the planet and to for current and future generations. This strategy foresees that the most harmful chemicals are avoided for non-essential societal use, and that all industrial chemicals are more safely and more sustainably used. And these are all very important and much needed and very welcome ambitions. And that makes it so bizarre that we are today discussing the authorization of a very, very toxic substance, carbendazim, as a particular substance that is classified as mutagenic category 1B, and toxic to reproduction, also category 1B. In other words, this is precisely the sort of chemical we should be banning and not authorizing. And this authorization will lead to unacceptable consequences for the environment and for human health. In the middle of a pandemic, we really should know better. This is why I support this objection, and I hope that we can count on the support of a large majority in this House. The Commission needs to live up to its own ambitions and really work on a toxic-free environment for all. Thank you.
Thank you. So there is no request for the floor from Michel Rivasi, nor from Eleonora Evi. So we move to the other members and the shadows, starting with Michel Rivasi is asking for the floor. Michel.
Non, j'attendais que vous me donniez la parole, mais c'est vrai que je m'étais.
Chair, I was waiting to get the floor. I didn't raise my hand because I'm a co-rapporteur. But yes, this substance, you have to see that we are being asked for it to be renewed for use both for consumers, but also in the masonry industry. I'm sorry, the speaker's audio has dropped.
We can't hear you. On peut plus t'entendre. So I move to Schneider for the EPP, and then back to you, Michel.
Hallo? Okay. Carbenzamin wird als Kanzerogen.
Carbenzamin is a carcinogen and it is toxic. It is a material that we don't want to see anymore, but that is what we want and what we wish. But we have to look at what is possible and implementable. There is a problem, and the problem is the existing law. This particular element is not on the list right now because the evaluation report of August 2013 and all evaluation reports before the 1st of September 2013 fall under paragraph 19, section 2 of the biocide directive. So there is implementation of it, as that is what is foreseen. It is stated that it is not effective, it is not detrimental to health and that's why on the basis of the law that exists right now, the particular reinstatement or the extension rather of the approval cannot be denied because of the law that's in place right now. And in the next meeting of the Standing Committee in September, the Commission will implement further restrictions with regard to use in outdoor areas. For now, for indoor areas, it is permitted. Right now, there is no margin right now because of the legislation. And we are against this particular reservation as far as extension of the approval.
Voilà.
All right, can you hear me? Well, I was saying that it's a renewal, a 3-year renewal, a substance that has very problematic characteristics because it is a 1B mutagenic that has been proven. It is toxic, and there are concerns that it might be an endocrine disruptor. What is very surprising, and I'll go back to what Maria Reina said, is how did the Commission not follow the Biocide Committee opinion that said that there would be an unacceptable environmental risk, and then when it's used outside for painting and so on, it would contaminate other surfaces for quite a long time because it is a very persistent substance. Furthermore, This substance, the speaker's audio has dropped again.
Désolé, Michel.
biocide.
Back. No. Okay. So, Michel, tu as été déconnecté. You were disconnected. I think there is a structural problem. We try to solve it later on, but then we move to Martin Olschick for Renew.
Thank you very much, Chair. And indeed, it's a case which, for me, it's kind of completely unbelievable, because we are in the year 2020, yet we are talking about basically allowing a substance that was assessed under the legislation which ceased to be valid 7 years ago. This is a case where on so many levels things have gone wrong. We don't have to discuss whether this is okay substance or not. It's highly toxic for aquatic environment. It's under the 528 2012 biocide legislation, would simply not be permitted on the market, full stop. Now, and it's beautifully showing where is the problem and why we have to support this objection. First of all, it took 7 years almost for Germany, of all the member states, Germany to do the assessment, which is complete shame. Now, after the assessment, we said, okay, it's going to get through. Whereas it was the application was submitted a month before the entry of the force of the new legislation. So clearly it was last moment application, knowing that they wouldn't get permission. Yes, the Commission will go and say, we have to and permit it. We only give it 3 years, and then we will have a new assessment. But there is no guarantee, sadly, whatsoever, that the new assessment will not take another 7 years. So we'll see then coming back, oh, we have to have extensions because, hey, there is no other way. I think that we have to, and as a group, we've sent back the objection from also one very important point. The measures that the Commission will be discussing with the member states in December are very important. And what we need to see is a clear signal to the member states also, not just the Commission, that the measures that are going to be adopted in December are simply discouraging any continued use of the substance, are strong enough to, as much as possible, limit and ideally eliminate the use of the substance, which should have happened already some years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last speaker will be Alexander Vondra for ECR.
Yes, so again, the ECR opposed this objection. Firstly, based on the legal grounds, the Council and also we in the Parliament should follow the long-established transitional provisions, which cover also the exclusion criteria, as ECHA identified as safe use in its scientific opinion. There are no legal grounds to refuse the substance for a short period of time, so those 3 years. Secondly, concerns that carbendazim poses a risk must be addressed, but that is why this approval is limited just to 3 years under very stringent condition, and why any further renewal must comply with the new regulation, including its exclusion criteria. It will force companies manufacturing products with carbendazim to look for substitutes with a 10 years approval period. The objection claims on the substance endocrine disrupting properties is also misleading. 26 member state experts out of the 27 on ENV Committee drew the same conclusion, namely that the available data are insufficient to make such a claim. Nevertheless, this objection chooses the one outlier simply because it fits with its narrative. So in short, because of the legal framework established and endorsed by the Council and also this Parliament, the Commission is legally required to propose the approval of this substance and we should not be looking to retroactively rewrite this law and its strict safeguards through alarmist and exaggerated claims. Thanks.
Thank you. And the last word to the Commission, Klaus Behrendt.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So now we are also having objections in the context of the biocides regulation. I first wanted to inform about the legal situation, but this has already been done by Ms. Schneider and Mr. Vondra, who have exactly and correctly explained that we are obliged to apply still the criteria of Directive 98/8 EC, the predecessor of the current regulation, that therefore the cutoff criteria as such do not apply to this substance, nor was there an obligation for applicants to fully investigate ED properties. And with the information available, there was no conclusion that the substance is actually an endocrine disruptor. Ms. Rivasi and Ms. Arena have both also asked the question, why are we deviating from the BPC or the ECHA opinion in this case? But in actual fact, we are not. ECHA has found that there are no risks to human health from the uses in these product types, and also not for people living in houses, for example, that have been painted with paints containing the substance or with construction material containing the substance. As to the environment, ECHA has actually found that from outdoor use there can be risks, but only in urbanized areas, whereas this is not the case if we are looking at individual buildings or individual construction objects in the environment. And ECHA has also not recommended that the Commission imposes specific risk mitigation measures in this regard, nor has ECHA recommended that we refuse the approval. So we are actually in line with the ECHA opinion and the recommendations. Now, however, and this is to respond to Mr. Heusig and also to pick up on something that Ms. Schneider already said, and Mr. Vondra, with all the conditions that we are placing on this approval, we make it indeed unattractive for companies to apply for actual authorization in the member states. And the restrictive conditions that we have already proposed will be further reinforced in our revised proposal that we will present to the Standing Committee in December, where we will propose that indeed member states will not be allowed to authorize outdoor use, and that paints and construction materials containing the substance have to be labeled with the statement that they are not to be used outdoors. So we go even beyond the recommendation of ECHA in that sense, as EFSA did not recommend any such measures, but we will nevertheless propose them, and this emerged from the discussions with the member states on the first version of the draft regulation. So to sum up, legally, we are obliged to apply the criteria of the former directive. There are no grounds in the ECHA opinion to refuse the approval, and we set conditions and shorten the approval period very much in order to trigger a new process for reviewing this approval if companies actually do apply, in order to then apply fully the criteria of the current BPR, including the cutoff criteria. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the vote in ENV will be tomorrow, and the vote in plenary, if the objection is voted in ENV, November 2 session. So I will now close this meeting and open formally the voting session. The voting session will be open tomorrow, Tuesday at 10 a.m. and will be closed at 11. So we will proceed as usual now. And let me remind you that there will be also, as I said at the very beginning of this meeting, a second voting session on the ENV opinion on the consent procedure of the proposal for the MFF for, of course, 21-27. This voting session will take place on Wednesday, so in 2 days' time, in Wednesday, from 5 to 6 p.m., and you will receive all the relevant information by email. Thank you, and we will see, or if see is not probably not the right term, but we will see each other for the next ENV session, November 13th. Thank you very much.